Bowraville, New South Wales, Australia, a small timber town on the mid-north coast, population just over 1,000, 6 hours north of Sydney. On the outskirts of town, about 2 kilometres from the centre, there is a community known as the Mission. It sits on Gumbaynggirr Road. It has been home to Aboriginal families for generations. Between September 1990 and February 1991, over just 5 months, 3 Aboriginal children disappeared from the Mission. They lived on the same street. They all vanished after parties. Their remains were found off the same dirt track in the bushland outside Bowraville. There has always been only one suspect, a white man who lived nearby, who came to the party, who supplied the children with alcohol they couldn't otherwise get, who was known at the Mission as the King. He was tried twice, acquitted twice, and he currently lives in another part of New South Wales under an assumed name. Colleen was 16, Evelyn was 4, Clinton was 16, and 35 years later, their families are still fighting for justice. This is the story of the Bowraville murders, and this is one of the greatest failures of the Australian justice system ever recorded. To understand what happened in Bowraville, you have to understand what Bowraville was. Like many Australian country towns, Bowraville had a history of deeply entrenched racial division. Only decades before these murders, Aboriginal people could not get served in cafes. They had to enter the cinema through a side door. Pubs were segregated. The Mission on the outskirts of town was where the Aboriginal community lived, physically separated from white Bowraville, not by law anymore, but by history, by economics, by the invisible wall that racism builds and leaves standing long after it pretends to be over. When the children started disappearing from the Mission in 1990, that history mattered. It mattered in how the police responded. It mattered in how long it took anyone outside the community to care. It mattered in whether 3 murdered children would ever get justice. Spoiler, they haven't. Not yet. September 13th, 1990. 16-year-old Colleen Walker-Craig is at a party at the Mission. She is visiting relatives in Bowraville. She is from Sawtell, a village about 60 kilometers north. She has plans to leave the following morning. Her bags are packed, her mood is positive, her train is booked. At the party, a man named Thomas J. Hart insists she spend the night in his caravan. This is not the first time he has made this request. Earlier that year, Hart had invited Colleen to his caravan to watch music videos. In the morning, she told a friend that during the night, Hart had attempted to have sex with her while she slept. She had been able to fight him off. This night, she refuses him. She tells him she's heading to Greenup. She walks down a laneway near a friend's house. This is the last time anyone sees Colleen Walker-Craig alive. The following day, her family reports her missing to local police. The police are not interested. They insist Colleen has gone walkabout. No search parties are formed. No action is taken. Despite Colleen's packed bags, despite her booked train, despite her positive mood, the night she vanished. Despite her family's insistence that something terrible had happened, the community established their own office with the help of a Catholic priest named Bernie Ryan, where residents could come forward and document their memories of the night Colleen went missing. They transcribed the statements carefully and handed them to the police. Police filed them away and did nothing. In April 1991, 7 months after she vanished, a fisherman found articles of Colleen's clothing in the Nambucca River. They had been weighed down with rocks. Colleen's body has never been found. A New South Wales coroner later declared that she most likely had been murdered. 3 weeks after Colleen disappeared, October 4th, 1990, another party at the mission. 4-year-old Evelyn Greenup, Colleen's cousin, is brought to her grandmother's house by her mother Rebecca after her father is too intoxicated to look after the children. Rebecca puts her 3 children to bed and settles in for the night. Thomas J. Hart is at the party. At one point, the grandmother asks him to leave after seeing him peer into one of the windows of the house. Sometime during the night, the grandmother hears Evelyn cry briefly, then a thump, then silence. Another woman in the house sees Hart leave Rebecca's bedroom in a hurry, almost running towards the front door. In the morning, Rebecca wakes with an unusually severe hangover, more than usual. Her pants have been pulled down. Evelyn is gone. Rebecca goes to the police. A family member later recalled the police officer's response. "What do you want me to do about it? She went walkabout. It's time for me to go home for the day." Evelyn's mother was told by police that she and her own mother had sold Evelyn. Her 4-year-old daughter was missing and police were accusing her of selling her. On April 27, 1991, 6 months after she vanished, Evelyn Greenup's skeletal remains were found in the bushland near Congarini Road outside Bowraville. An autopsy could not conclusively determine the cause of death, but it noted that a skull injury was consistent with forceful penetration by a sharp instrument. Evelyn was 4 years old. January 31st, 1991, another party at the mission. 16-year-old Clinton Speedy-Duroux had arrived in Bowraville from Tenterfield in December to stay with his father. He had started a relationship with a girl named Kelly Jarrett, who had been close friends with Colleen. At the end of the party, Hart insists Kelly to come to his caravan. Kelly refuses unless Clinton comes too, so Hart invites them both. At around 3 a.m., the 3 of them are in the caravan watching music videos. Clinton lying on the double bed, Kelly and Hart drinking. Hart says he will fold out the dining table while Clinton and Kelly sleep on the double bed. At around 5 a.m., 2 delivery drivers were making early runs near Norco Corner, about 200 meters from the caravan. They see a white man standing over a barefoot Aboriginal teenager beside a red car. They stop and offer help. The man tells them curtly he has already called the police and the boy had fallen asleep. They drive on. At 8:40 a.m., Kelly wakes up in Hart's caravan after an unusually deep sleep. Clinton is gone. Some of her clothing is missing. Clinton's family reports him missing. Police visit the caravan later that day. By the time they arrive, the bedding, the sheets, the pillow slips, blankets has been completely removed. There is no visible sign of where Clinton had slept. The caravan is not officially searched until February 7th, 6 days after Clinton disappeared. In those 6 days, Hart had cleaned the interior thoroughly. A small drop of blood was found on the bedhead, identified as human blood, but the sample was so small that the process of analyzing it also destroyed it. Gone forever. On February 18, 1991, 18 days after Clinton vanished, his remains were found in a bushland near Congarini Road. He had suffered penetrating injuries to his skull. Stuffed in underneath his clothing was a pillow slip. It belonged to J. Hart's caravan. 3 Aboriginal children, same community, same parties, same dirt track in the bushland, all within 5 months, and police refused to connect them. Instead of bringing in a homicide squad, police called in the NSW Child Mistreatment Unit to investigate the parents. They accused the Aboriginal community of abusing their own child, while the man who police would later name as their prime suspect walked free. The investigation was handed to a detective with no previous experience in a homicide. Hart's caravan, where Clinton was last seen alive, was not seized for 10 days. Evidence that should have been preserved was gone. Detective Chief Inspector Gary Jublin, who led the re-investigation years later, was blunt about what happened. 3 children were murdered and this case was not given the attention it warranted. I think race played a part in it, and also socio-economic issues. He said the families had told him from the beginning that no one cared because they were Aboriginal. I didn't believe it then, Jublin said. Now I can say they were spot on. A police source put it even more plainly. If it had been 3 white kids from an affluent Sydney suburb, more pressure would have been brought to speed up things and make sure everything was done properly. But it didn't grab the attention of the community, and so it slipped under the radar. Thomas J. Hart was a 25-year-old white labourer who had moved to Bowraville as a teenager. He had family ties to the area and lived in a caravan on his mother's property, just a backtrack through pasture from the mission. By day, he worked at Bowraville's tanning factory. By night, he spent his time at the mission, coming to parties with alcohol and marijuana, particularly popular with the young people there because he supplied them with alcohol they otherwise couldn't access. At the mission, he was known as the King. He had a pattern. Multiple women came forward to report that Hart had a known history of drugging women and sexually assaulting them while they slept. Both Evelyn's mother and Clinton's girlfriend had woken that night with their clothing removed, having slept far more deeply than normal. He was present at every party. He was one of the last people seen with all 3 victims. He was seen peering into Evelyn's bedroom window the night she vanished. He was seen leaving Rebecca's bedroom in a hurry that same night. 2 truck drivers placed him standing over a prone Indigenous teenager the morning Clinton disappeared. His own pillowslip was found stuffed under Clinton's body, and while awaiting trial, he allegedly confessed to the crimes to a fellow inmate. That confession never made it to a jury. April 8, 1991, Thomas J. Hart is arrested for the murder of Clinton Speedy-Duroux. October 16, 1991, while out on bail, he is arrested again for the murder of Evelyn Greenup. The prosecution intends to try both cases together to show the jury the full picture. The 3 victims, the same parties, the same man. The trial judge, Judge Badgery Parker, rules against it. Under the law at that time, the similar fact evidence, the pattern connecting all 3 cases, is deemed too prejudicial for a fair trial. The cases must be heard separately, one at a time, as though each child existed in isolation, as though the pattern meant nothing. The trial for Clinton's murder proceeds in 1994. The jury hears only about Clinton. They do not hear about Colleen. They do not hear about Evelyn. They do not hear about the pattern of drugged women, the pillowslip, the truck drivers at Norco Corner. They hear a circumstantial case, weakened almost beyond recognition by the failures of the original investigation. On February 18, 1994, the 3rd anniversary of the discovery of Clinton's body, J. Hart is acquitted. After the acquittal, prosecutors withdraw the charges for Evelyn's murder. She gets nothing, not even a trial. In 1997, New South Wales Police Commissioner Peter Ryan establishes Task Force Acquitted to re-investigate the murders. In 2004, a coronial inquest recommends Hart to be charged again for Evelyn's murder. The second trial is held in 2006. The prosecution presents two alleged confessions made by Hart. On March 3, 2006, J. Hart is acquitted again. 2 trials, 2 acquittals, 3 murdered children. No justice. The families of Colleen, Evelyn, and Clinton have never stopped fighting. For over 30 years, they have marched, they have petitioned, they have sat in parliamentary inquiries, they have stood outside courthouses, they have spoken to journalists and filmmakers and podcasters and anyone who would listen. In 2006, because of their direct activism, NSW changed its double jeopardy laws for the first time in Australian history. A person acquitted of a life sentence offence could potentially be retried if fresh and compelling evidence was uncovered. The families had hope. In 2016, the detective leading the investigation applied to the New South Wales Attorney General for a retrial. Police had identified 24 links between the 3 cases. In 2017, the New South Wales Attorney General applied to the Court of Criminal Appeal. It was the first retrial application in Australian history. On September 13, 2018, 28 years to the day since Colleen was last seen alive, the Court of Criminal Appeal dismissed the application. The evidence was not deemed fresh enough. The families stood outside the court. Clinton's aunt, Dolly Jerome, yelled into the air, "We are stuck in a 29-year rut of injustice. We are owed this justice. How dare you all? All we've done is appeal to the criminal system to get a murderer prosecuted for our 3 children. And somehow, for 29 years, somehow, some way, that's been evading us." In March 2019, the High Court of Australia refused to grant special leave to appeal. The government then refused to change the double jeopardy laws further. Every door closed, one by one. The investigation, however, has never officially stopped. In 2024, October, homicide detectives returned to Bowraville. They set up in Grants Hall on the main street, inviting the public to come forward with information. In October 2025, police divers searched the Nambucca River, specifically looking for Colleen's remains, trying to fill gaps in the original river search from 35 years ago. Colleen's parents, Michael and Muriel Craig, visited the search site. Muriel said, "I'm hoping that they do find something because it means we can have some kind of closure. I still believe that we can bring Colleen home. That's my mission in life." As recently as March 2026, police are still actively investigating. There is now a separate $1 million reward for each child, Colleen, Evelyn, and Clinton. $3 million total for the information that leads to justice. 35 years later, J. Hart lives somewhere in the New South Wales right now, under a different name. His stepfather, Noel Short, still lives in Bowraville, and the families of the 3 murdered children are still waiting. There are cases that are unsolved because there are no answers. This is not one of them. The answers exist. The pattern exists. The evidence exists. Police named 24 links between the 3 murders. Investigators are convinced. Detectives who spent years on this case are convinced. But conviction in a courtroom requires more than certainty. And the system that was supposed to deliver justice failed these children at every single step. It failed them when police told their family they had gone walkabout. It failed them when a 4-year-old girl's mother was accused of selling her daughter. It failed Evelyn's family when her case wasn't even prosecuted after Clinton's acquittal. It failed them when the judge separated the cases so the jury could never see the full picture. It failed them when the court ruled the evidence wasn't fresh enough. It failed them when the High Court closed the last door. Gary Jublin spent years fighting for these families. He said, "This is even bigger than the fight for justice for your children. You're making a state, maybe even a country, look at itself." Colleen Walker Craig was 16 years old. Evelyn Greenup was 4. Clinton Speedy-Duroux was 16. They lived on the same street. They vanished after parties. They were found off the same dirt track, and the man police believed killed all 3 of them has walked free for 35 years. If you have any information about the Bowraville murders, contact Crime Stoppers on 1-800-333-000. There's a $1 million reward for each child. These families deserve answers. These children deserve justice. Rest in peace to all of them. This has been The Unknown Files. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Unknown Files. If you like cases just like this, local and global, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. This is Swarnim signing out.